US President Donald Trump has said he is pausing attacks on Iran's energy plants for 10 days at the Iranian government's request and said talks with Tehran were going very well. In a post on Truth Social, Trump said that he is pausing the period of energy plant destruction by 10 days to Monday. He further added that despite erroneous statements to the contrary, the talks with Iran were still ongoing. Earlier, Trump held his first cabinet meeting since Iran war, where he spoke at length on various aspects. He said Iran is begging to make a deal with US. This even as he reiterated obliterating Iran's navy, air force, missile arsenal and defense military base.
Smaller version of what we're doing now. We're crushing their missiles and drone stockpiles, destroying their defense industrial base. We've wiped out their Navy completely, their Air Force completely. We've wiped out a large percentage of their missiles. And the missile launchers, without the launchers, the missiles don't do.
Donald Trump also said that Iranian leaders are finding it hard to communicate with each other as their first and second tier leadership is gone.
Nobody's a match for the United States, but they're not a match for the United States. It's small potatoes. That's why I'm so disappointed in NATO, because this was a test for NATO. This was a test. You can help us. You don't have to, but if you don't if you don't do that, we're going to remember.
Trump said that Iran now has the chance to abandon their nuclear ambitions. He warned that US is Iran's worst nightmare and that Washington can keep the strikes going unimpeded.
They now have the chance, that is Iran, to permanently abandon their nuclear ambitions and to chart a new path forward. We'll see if they want to do it. If they don't, we're their worst nightmare. In the meantime, we'll just keep blowing them away, unimpeded, unstopped. Well, there's not a thing they can do about it. They can't do anything about it, I tell you, if they could, you'd be hearing about it. You'd be hearing about it. You don't hear anything about it.
On the Strait of Hormuz, Donald Trump said US doesn't need Hormuz to fulfill its energy needs. However, he said it will require 100% success rate to open the strait. Even one missile hitting a billion-dollar ship is unacceptable.
With the straits is this. Let's say we do a great job. We say we got 99%. 1% is unacceptable because 1% is a missile going into the hull of a ship that cost $1 billion, right? So 1% is we can't. If we do a 99% decimation, that's no good.
The US president told reporters that taking control of Iran's oil was an option, but said that he would not talk about it. He further claimed that Tehran's present to him was allowing 8 big boats of oil to pass through the Strait of Hormuz.
8 boats that are going right up the middle of the Hormuz Strait. 8 big tankers are going loaded up with oil right through. And I said, well, I guess they were right, and they were real. And I think they were Pakistani flagged. Yes. And I said, well, I guess we're dealing with the right people. And actually, they then apologized for something they said, and they said, we're going to send 2 more boats. And it ended up being 10 boats. All right. I hope I haven't screwed up your negotiations, but I thought it was appropriate to say, because I did taunt you the other day by saying they're going to give us a present.
For more on this, our correspondent Susan Tehrani has sent us this report. Listen in.
President Trump has now extended the deadline for negotiations with Iran by 10 days, pausing planned U.S. strikes on Iranian energy infrastructure until April 6th. The move came after mediation efforts by regional countries as Washington tries to push Tehran back to the negotiating table. Publicly, Iran has rejected a U.S. 15-point proposal to end the war, but officials appear more open to talks behind the scenes, suggesting both sides are trying to avoid major escalation. But at the same time, the Pentagon is preparing military options for a potential final blow, including expanded bombing campaigns and even possible ground operations targeting nuclear sites or strategic oil infrastructure. Analysts say this pause is essentially a pressure tactic. Washington is giving diplomacy one last window while positioning forces in the region, while also keeping an eye on the markets as well. If negotiations fail by early April, the U.S. could escalate dramatically, potentially targeting Iran's economic lifelines like Kharg Island or oil export infrastructures, which would be a major step toward a wider war. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.